So, count of three, 1, 2, 3. Hi, everyone. This is Barry Stiefel, and I'm with Mike Palmer. And we are going to do a re-recording of the session that we did on fraud the other night. That with a couple of audio issues. And so we are going to begin, and I'm going to throw it out to Mike for a little introduction to start.
Good afternoon, everyone. This session on fraud, this will be on the hub, so you can get it off the hub for sure. And we're going to get right into it and start on the first page, which Barry will start us on. So here we go.
If you have any questions, since we can't see you raise your hand on this recording, just go to the hub. There'll be a section on the hub that, I'm sorry, on the technology forum. Go to the tech forum and you'll be able to ask some questions about this, and we'll get back to you with answers. So let's start out. Are you at risk? Well, if we look at the stats, especially if you live in Delaware, you'll see that we are the fourth largest state, or the fourth state in terms of dollars lost to fraud. Now, we're a really small state, so for us to be up that high is really pretty amazing. So are you at risk? Yes. And what we're looking at is fraud in a changing world. Well, gone are the days of the Ethiopian prince emails, or for that matter, hearing a Russian or possibly Indian accented person say that they're from the IRS or FBI. It is a much more sophisticated world we live in, and people that are perpetrating fraud are just as sophisticated, maybe even more. A theme that's going to go out throughout this seminar is, if you think that you're too smart to be scammed, the answer is you're not. And that's something that you need to keep in mind. Fraud is harder to spot than ever, and the internet that we use for social media constantly provides scammers with a wealth of information. It's a little too late for us to pull back that personal information on Facebook or some of the other social media that we use, but it's pretty advisable going forward that maybe you try to limit that. So, is someone trying to defraud you? What do? Okay, they'll use, here are some of the tactics that are used, and that will be a theme again throughout this seminar. You'll hear they've perfected using voices of a trusted voice of authority. You're going to hear a simulated fraud call a little later in the seminar, and you'll see how sophisticated some of these people are. They use a false sense of urgency. You need to do this now. This is ending right now. Or you've got malware and it needs to be taken care of this second. They play on your emotions, as we'll see with grandfather or grandmother schemes. You have somebody calling saying that a relative or a friend, I need money. I've got, I've got an emergency. They try to create a sense of scarcity. They'll exploit disasters. Certainly, from the standpoint of what's just happened down in Florida and North Carolina, you've got people that are taking advantage of that totally. And they're going to use personal and relationship information, as I say, that they collect from social media sites.
Okay, now what we go to is the main part of the presentation. This is common types of fraud that you'll encounter. We picked the top 5. The first one is a phishing email, which we're going to go over. Then fake text messages, fake websites, fake advertisements. And the last one is fraudulent phone call scams. That's, we think, the king of all fraud because it encompasses everything. And as we said here at the end, and you will see as we go along, all of these are intertwined and by the fraudsters right now. The first one is phishing email. Now, phishing email, they're fake emails. They're designed to look like they came from a company like Amazon, IRS, your bank, Microsoft and Apple are big ones, or from someone you know. And their purpose is threefold. It's to have you respond back with personal information, click on a link in that email, and the one I didn't put up there is download an attachment. So you can't do that. So that's a big deal with the phishing emails. And then we have a graphic here that might be a little harder to see, but basically what we're saying is if you go upper left, that's the from. When you look at the from, do you recognize that sender? And you can expose, this one just says Molly Conley. Well, you can expose it to say, well, what's the email sitting behind Molly?
Expose it meaning that
Show
you
it.
expand the address.
The address. So this one's molly.conley9732@gmail.com. Now, if this is from a company, they're not going to use Gmail, so you know that's false right away. And you can expose it by going over it, or you can hit reply. And reply will actually expose it, and then if it's fake, you can just delete everything. The next one is the to. You know, is this email part of a long list like 50 people or just you? The next one is the content of the email. Is this unanticipated? Is it grammatically correct? A lot of them are very grammatically correct now because all the scammers are using AI. They write something that, you know, is in broken English or whatever. They run it through the AI engine. Guess what? Comes out very professional. So you don't see a lot of that anymore. Does it give you, as Barry said before, is it an urgent command? Is it asking for personal or financial information? So you really need to understand what are they asking for there, in there. Also in there, if you go over to the right, you'll see a hyperlink, which is in blue. And a hyperlink is what you do is you hover over that. You take your cursor. You're going to show you that, but take your cursor over that. That'll tell you what that link is. And if it's a suspicious link, you don't want to do it. If it's got an attachment, are you expecting an attachment with this? Because you don't want to click on an attachment. Date and time. This one was set at 3 a.m. Probably not. The subject, how relevant is this to you? Are you expecting to confirm a purchase? Did you make anything? So then we go through all that and kind of look.
Let me stop. You know, let me add something to this. So what this slide is showing you, these are the things you need to look at. I know that it seems like a lot. You get an email you're not expecting. These are the factors that you want to look at. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age that the key that everybody needs to go forward with is skepticism. So I kind of have a little saying that goes perfectly along with this particular slide. Stop before you click. Basically, stop, look at it, okay, examine the factors before you click on a link or an attachment. It may take a few more minutes, but don't just blindly click on something in an email.
Okay, now here we have a phishing versus a legitimate email. Now the one on the left, that was a link down here where it says secure my account. Yes, it was me. And if you expose or you hover over that to see what is really behind that, you'll get something like this, which is a little technical, but the very first line is going to tell you who sent this. Well, this was sent by Hotmail. So you know it's not an Apple thing. You know it's fake right away. So it's definitely a phishing. You don't want to click those links because it's definitely a phishing thing because you have opened up what that says, and that's pretty easy to do.
All you need do, you don't need to click for this, as Mike said.
No
Take your cursor, put it over that link, okay, that hyperlink, and that dialog box will open up.
Yeah, and just look at the first line. The one to the right says, you know, your order's complete, $52, it's from Ticket Leap, and then when you go down there and you hover over that, you see it is from Ticket Link. So you know this is legitimate, and if you ordered it, you probably know you're waiting for this anyway. So that's a good way to look at this. So that's the phishing emails. Now we're going to jump to text messages.
Fake text messages follow along the same lines as phishing emails. By the way, phishing emails are the #1 way that companies are hacked, believe it or not. And many companies actually run phishing or hacking tests with their employees, which, by the way, later on in this seminar, and if you go to the deck on the hub, you'll be able to, if there's a link, that you'll be actually be able to take a phishing email test. So fake text messages in many respects might be more dangerous than emails. Why? Because we get more texts than we get emails. We get texts all the time. And essentially, what they want you to do in a fake text is the same thing they want you to do in a phishing email. Click on a link. Generally, you don't get an attachment in a text, although sometimes you can. But basically, they want you to click on a link. These messages are short. They many times come, and you're going to see some examples from legitimate sources. And what they're doing now, and the reason that fake texts are dangerous, is they are taking advantage of two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is a good thing. Everybody's experiencing it now. It's kind of a pain, but if you have the option to elect two-factor authentication, you absolutely should do it. Essentially, what that does is, I think we all know, when you enter your password, you don't get access to that particular site. It says, how do you want a code to be sent to you? Can be sent by phone call, by email, or by another text. Generally, people pick texts. And what it does is it sends you a code number for you to enter. Well, scammers are taking advantage of the fact that people expect to get texts now. So they're counting on the fact that you're thinking that the text you're getting is authentic in the context that it might be a two-factor authentication email. You're expecting to receive it. So let's take a look at some examples. These two examples are really interesting, and they show the sophistication that scammers have been able to use. The one on the left is from USPS, and many of us have been getting this. I think both of these are texts that I actually received. You'll notice the one on the left says the USPS, a package has arrived at a warehouse. It can't be delivered because the address information is incomplete. Okay, well, you might be tempted to click on the link, but go to the top of that message. And I don't think that a United States Post Office message would be coming from Tracy Langush. I doubt it seriously. But if you didn't look at that, maybe you'd be taken in by that. The one on the right is even more dangerous. Why? Look at the graphics. The graphics are, absolutely amazing, and it looks 100% legitimate. The thing is, the United States Post Office doesn't send you texts. So if you get anything from USPS in a way of a text, it isn't legitimate. Now, what we're looking at here is, if we go to the slide on the right, it goes along with what I just said. This is from WSFS Bank, and this is another text that I received. My bank is not going to text me. They might email me, they might call me, but banks don't send texts unless they're two-factor authentication texts. And I'm going to show you on the next slide how you know the difference between a fake email from an institution and a legitimate two-factor authentication text. Notice on the text example, I've circled a number. A two-factor authentication text always has a number. It doesn't have a link. If the text has a link, it's fraudulent. If it contains a number, for the most part, it's legitimate. This is basically saying to me, this is the code number you need to enter into the website. Mike, want to talk about
Sure.
fake websites?
Fake websites. Scammers are going to set up fake websites, and there are two types of fake websites. One is from a company you've never heard of, but they are selling well-known brands. Louis Vuitton, they're selling Prada, they're selling all this stuff at very discounted prices. The second type is a copycat page. This site tries to replicate the actual company site that you really wanted to go to. So you can mistakenly reach the fake site because you clicked on a link on their search page that looks remarkably close to that site. And we're going to show you a couple of examples.
And what scammers are doing now, Mike, and you know this, how do you get to those sites? Well, this goes along in some respects with our everything is tied together. First, scammers will buy, they'll pay for, they use search engine optimization, and they'll create a false website, as you're going to see an example of. It might be the same website, but 2 or 3 letters or a number off of the actual site. Well, you're not going to, generally, you don't pay attention to that URL. And what they do is they buy their way to the top. They actually pay, so that they can move up, so that their false site you see before you see the actual legitimate site. Another way you get there is, as again, Mike was talking about before, everything is intertwined. You get an email, and the email is something that you believe, and there was a link to take you to a false website.
And now we got the next 2 slides are 2 examples of what's going on here. The first one is a legitimate product. So this is Architects clothing, and you can see here it's architects.com. It's a parka, and it's 1,000 pounds. This is from England, so it's an expensive parka, but everything's legitimate. The URL is right. This is exactly what the site looks like. So then what the scammers do is they take that exact website.
Look how
it's identical.
It's
identical, except the price is only 119 pounds. So it's 10% of what this coat really costs. But then if you look up at the URL, it's architectsireland.com. They just added the word Ireland. Since it's in England, they said, oh, people will say Ireland.com, and they think it's a legitimate site. It's not. It's really just the architects.com is a legitimate site.
Mike, it goes along with many people, are probably, maybe they're saying to themselves, I don't stop and look at the URL.
Right.
How many people do? That's true. But it goes back to what we said before. Again, we have a couple of continuing themes here. Stop, look before you click or go somewhere. Why? Because things have changed. We live in a different time, and the different time requires you to pay attention.
Yeah, and if you're getting a 90% discount or a 70% discount, you definitely should stop and look at that URL. That is going to be a big deal. And what Barry talked about, SEO, which is search engine optimization, SEO is a product that Google has that says, okay, Google is now selling where you show up in the search. When you do a Google search, the first one that shows up is the one that paid Google the most money to be first in the search for that word. So these guys are now saying, hey, I'm going to pay more and get ahead of the real one. So that is definitely can happen. And now the next one is one of Barry's favorites.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this is, if you were to go to an Apple website, you'd see these graphics. This page absolutely looks, it renders as if it was an Apple page. But let's, again, Mike, look at that URL at the top. Apple Lab. not apple.com.
.co.nz.
Yeah,
Zillow.
yeah. So if you just look at it quickly, you might say, okay, that's Apple. And you'll see the message, your Apple ID has been locked. No, you'd never get a message like that from Apple. Never. How did I get to this site? Well, possibly I received, again, tying in, I received an email that purported to look like it came from Apple, and I clicked on it. And that's how I get to this site. And what happens when I get to this site? Well, any number of things. One is maybe I get a message that pops up, my Apple ID has been locked. Well, who sees a message like that and doesn't say, oh my gosh, I've got to do something about this? Well, I'm going to click on that unlock my account. Well, you'd never see that. How are they going to unlock it if they don't, if my Apple ID was compromised? So this is an absolutely fraudulent web page.
Okay, now we move on to fake online advertisements, which are digital advertisements created by the scammers, and they usually are legitimate online promotional materials. They show up on websites, social media, and we're going to show you some examples. We're going to start with viruses and pop-ups.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that that is definitely an issue here, and everyone has gotten one of these at some point while they were on their computer.
We tied these fake online adverts to fake websites because I think, Mike, they go hand in hand, right? You can get to a fake website, and the reason that you're taken to the fake website is so that a pop-up message can come up just like this. Many people have received this type of a message. You go to that site and all of a sudden, oh my God, look at this. My Mac is infected.
Yep. And this is what we put down there is if you get a virus pop-up, not a regular pop-up, but if you get a virus pop-up in your browser, they're going to be fake. And then the second point there.
Why is that, Mike? Why would that be fake? Yeah.
Because the virus pop-up is definitely a scammer coming to you, wanting you to take action right away. And it's not selling you anything. This is selling you. This is strictly you've got to handle it right now. You got to call me. You got to click on this. I have to save you right now.
Basically, you'd never see a you get a pop-up that says you have a virus. They are all, I think, 100% fraudulent. Absolutely.
And then no virus warnings that pop up on your Mac, your iPhone, or your Android. They are also fake. They are also not real.
Sometimes you get these and you can't get out of them.
Okay? Correct. Yeah.
If that happens, shut your machine down and then restart.
Yeah, that has happened to me.
Yeah.
They just take over and they just loop it. So it's just loop. You kill it, comes right back up.
One of the things you can do is shut the machine down when it goes back on. Open up the browser, go to browser history, and delete the browser history.
Yep, and then what we say here is, if browsers have ability to block pop-up ads, you can go to those settings under privacy and security and block pop-ups right away. Also, what Barry just said is very true. Once you go back and delete that history, you immediately want to run your malware software.
Yes.
Your antivirus right away so that we know what's going on. The next one is another one of Barry's favorites.
Yeah, this fake Netflix.
Netflix Club.
Yeah, this is again one of those tie-ins. So you look at that graphic. I got that email. Let's say this is a tie-in, a phishing email I received. Let's say, and I click on that link, and it takes me to this site. Now, this site otherwise looks like a Netflix site, and it's asking me for a sign-in. And how did I get there? Well, I clicked on that email, and if you look at the email address, you're going to see Netflix Club. There isn't a Netflix Club. So again, stop, look, and then click.
Here's an example, which is,
I know you love this, Mike.
this is easy. It's real and fake. I mean, we all use PayPal, and the one on the left is real. That's PayPal. Get up there, you enter your mobile number, you go next. Well, the one on the right, if you look at what it is, it's PayPal, but it's PAY-PAIL, like a pail to the beach. So it's PayPal, and it's going to grab your information. That is absolutely fake, and they want your information to your real PayPal, and then they're going to go in and go through it.
But Mike, look how, again, look at the graphics.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. And we had one the other day where the only difference between the two, it had something company.com, and company was spelled COMPENY.
Yeah.
So it can be that slight of a difference that you got to look for, which is a little crazy. And now we go to the king of all frauds, which is phone fraud.
Yeah, phone fraud is the most dangerous form of fraud for a number of reasons. One is that this is where people have lost a lot of money. And what's happened is, again, another theme running throughout this seminar is the sophistication that's taken place. Scammers have used technology, most recently artificial intelligence, to clone voices, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the evolving technology has allowed scammers to create convincing scenarios. I said this at the beginning. Gone are the days of the Ethiopian prince. Well, again, gone are the days when you'd receive a call from someone with a foreign accent telling you they were from a governmental agency. Not anymore. You're hearing people that have gone through they use sophisticated scripting. They use technology to clone phone numbers. They can clone any agency's phone number, any bank's phone number. They get information about you from the dark web, and the dark web is a sub site that can be accessed by scammers. And there's a lot of information on that that they garner from partial information hacks that have taken place. So they can get your relatives' names. Of course, they can get that from social media. They can get things that they can get your last four digits of your social security number. So when you get a call and they're saying to you, well, we know your wife is Karen, your daughter's Kim, your last four digits of your social security number are 1, 2, 3, 4. It cements in your mind, some credibility. That really isn't real, but it seems like it is. And again, what they've done is used modern technology tools that are available to them.
Yeah, and these are what's called either the data aggregators or the people finder sites. And I break those into, they scour the internet looking for PII, which is personal identity information. And I break them into two categories. There's big bad guys and there's little bad guys. The big bad guys, they're the ones who create the breach, do the breach, and get all the information. And what they do is they sell it to the little bad guys. And the little bad guys are the ones creating all these schemes. So there's a wealth of knowledge out there to get this thing rolling.
So are scammers calling you? Are you calling scammers? So what do we mean by that? Again, going back to the aspect of tying in the various forms of fraud together, you're seeing calls that you receive, okay, from scammers. But on the other hand, you may be receiving emails or texts giving you a phone number, and you end up calling them. And so what are some of the scams that we're seeing? Well, debt reduction, you get these calls. I can reduce your debt. You get calls that we need more information to approve your loan. One of the big ones is tech support representatives. You will never, ever receive a call from Apple, from Google, from 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 Gmail. You will never receive a call from those companies. They don't call you. If you do, that call is fraudulent. This is a big area that people have fallen prey to, because what happens is you get that call. We've detected an issue with your system. A call from Microsoft. We've detected an issue with your system, with your laptop, and the offer is that we can fix that. They want two things. First, they want money from you, but they also want remote access to your machine. Now, when there are legitimate, oftentimes when you call a support number, legitimate support number from Apple, from Microsoft, and you get a technician to help you, they'll ask for remote access, and that's fine. But when you get a call unsolicited from someone who purports to be a tech representative, never ever fall for that. But more than that, never ever let them into your machine. The next form of phone fraud is the governmental agencies. Now, this becomes dangerous because these people now are able to impersonate texts from representatives from governmental agencies. They are, and you're going to see, we have a call that you'll be able to listen to from someone who purports to be from a governmental agency. What happens here, and where you really can fall prey, is you get that call from the IRS or from the FBI or the CIA, and these calls are believable. The numbers again are cloned, and they are actual numbers from that appear on your phone. And these people start off with these incredible scripts about how your accounts have been compromised, how you've been compromised, how your identity has been stolen, and what they want. And I'm taking some time here because you need to understand. I want you to understand what essentially is going on with these calls. What they're looking to do, the big goal, is to have you believe that your identity or your bank accounts have been compromised, and that you need that they are going to help protect you in the form of creating a new protected bank account. Reason being, they'll tell you or have you believe that your accounts were compromised, your identity was compromised, and that they need to close or put a hold on your accounts. Now, they're going to talk about how you will need, if they put a hold on your account for 6 weeks, a month, or more, 6 months, you're going to need money to live on. And what they'll say is, we're going to create a secure account for you to put your money in. You need to withdraw it from your bank, and we will give you wiring instructions. Okay. I can tell you that local banks are seeing a proliferation of people that are coming in and asking for to withdraw funds from their bank accounts. Where's these funds going? Well, they're going to these scammers that are making these calls. Mike, next, I guess, slide.
Well, these are the last, you talk
Yeah,
about the last
I
three.
did.
We talked about those, right?
Yeah, well, no, actually, I'm sorry. Well, I did not mention the disaster call.
Oh, yeah.
AI now allows you to, it not allows me per se, but it lets scammers clone voices. Many of us will receive calls every now and then where we go, hello, hello, no one's on the line. We say, hello, is anyone there? Well, and then you hear a hang up. That's all a scammer needs today with sophisticated AI tools to be able to clone that voice. I did a cloning. I use my Apple iPhone, and they have an amazing personal voice feature that comes out sounding a little mechanical, but it otherwise is my voice. And it can be used. Essentially, you get the call, Grandpa, I'm on that cross country trip. I'm in North Carolina. I'm in New Mexico. My car broke down. My starter is bad. I'm at the garage. I need my credit card isn't working. I need $1,000. The garage accepts Venmo. Let me give you the Venmo account number. You get these calls, and the voice on the other end sounds like that grandson or granddaughter.
Yeah, the voice cloning is very, very prevalent today. So now we're going to see if we can show you one of these.
Yeah, hopefully technology works. If
Well, I got to set this up to play it through the speakers.
if you don't hear this, you can, when you get the deck, you can do your own. But if this does play, I want you to listen to the voice and how sophisticated this call is. The person that they're calling isn't too sophisticated, and this is not a scam that's looking for a lot of money, but it gives you an idea that this is not someone, again, with a foreign accent calling. It's a pretty well scripted call.
Yeah, so I'm going to key it in here to the URL. We'll get it rolling here and see if we can pick it up through the speakers. Okay, here we go. Yeah, see, this is let's see. It's gonna go there.
You know, Mike, where's someone from the tech committee when you need them, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You can go out and take a little break while we're, and I think we've got it. So let's take a listen to this phone call.
Okay, starting it up.
Investigator Sharon Wright. Am I speaking with? Yes. Again, my name is Investigator Sharon Wright. I am investigating a criminal complaint that has been reported here in the office against you by Cash Express. We are in the process of proceeding against you legally. Now, prior to reporting this to your local authorities and return them issuing a warrant for your arrest, I did want to contact you, get a statement, and find out exactly what were your intentions.
But what is this? I'm not understanding. What is this?
Cash Express is stating that you did walk into their facility to obtain a payday loan. You did give them your personal checking information along with a date as to when they can extract the funds to be paid back for the loan. Once they went to receive the funds were not available. Now, they did make several attempts at trying to contact you to rectify it. They sent it to 3 different collection agencies. They also made the attempts in trying to rectify it, received no resolution. So they did transfer your file to my office, asking that we go ahead and proceed legally. Now, prior to forwarding it, like I said, to your local authorities, we did want to contact you, get a statement, find out exactly what was going on, and what are your intentions on trying to rectify it now that you are aware of the issues here.
Okay, so rectify means what?
Well, I mean, of course, to hold it going from going legal, you know, they want the money.
Okay.
However, you
So
have
what amount is this?
a balance of $819.04.
Okay, at this moment right now, I'm not working.
Well, see, with that being said, I will have no choice but to forward it to Los Angeles County. However, Los Angeles County will issue you with a warrant.
Let me stop this for just a second. Did you hear the threat? She said, the woman said, well, I'm not working right now. And the investigator, Sharon Wright, said, well, then I'm not gonna, I don't have any other option but to forward this to Los Angeles County to have them issue a warrant for your arrest. There is the sense of urgency, but that's the scare tactic. Let's listen to a little more of the call and then we'll come back.
For your arrest, it will be for depository check fraud as well as theft by deception.
Is there any payments that I can do?
They're willing to set you up on a payment arrangement. However, they require that you come up with a down payment of at least half of your balance. And then what we'll do is make an arrangement with you on the remaining portion of the balance. However, that will go ahead and get it put on hold. It will avoid all legal actions from being pursued.
Okay, so let me do that then, because I don't want none of the right on.
Okay. We're going to stop this here. I think the call gives you the point. This call, the scripting was really good. The voice, this woman had no compassion. She sounded like someone that might be calling from an agency, an investigator. All she cared about was resolving the issue, which is getting money. Many of these calls now today are much more sophisticated. And as we'll talk about, towards the end, with a couple of particular people and examples of sophisticated scams. But this just gives you an idea of what's going on and how realistic these calls can be.
Thanks, Barry. The next two slides are similar, and they're just protecting yourself from fraud. You've heard these steps before, but we want to emphasize a few of them to make sure that you do it right. Improve your password security. You want to use passphrases instead of just your address and your birthday or your dog's name or something like that. Try not to use personal information, but everyone's been through the password issues for sure. In the live demo, a lot of people asked about, are there password programs out there that are good? And we said, yes, there are. Just look up the best programs to store your passwords in, and you'll come up with, RoboForm. What do you use, Barry?
LastPass.
LastPass. So there are a couple of those out there, so you should definitely do that.
And actually, Apple in iOS 18, I think it's iOS 18.1, but they are apparently coming out with their own password.
Up to their iCloud.
Yeah.
And that'll be good. They're pretty good at security, so we'll get that in the future and forward it to everybody. And then the next one is, you want antivirus software, and you want to use the top guys because they'll do it, and every one of them is going to have a VPN, which you should get if you're doing any banking or anything with money.
A virtual private network.
Yeah, we always put the VPN on, which means your information or the website you're going to, you go through that VPN tunnel, and that's really what you want to do.
What it does, we'll at some point in time we'll geek out a little more on what a VPN is, but essentially what it does is it hides your location.
Yeah. It
hides your information. It hides your IP address when you go online.
Right. The next one is set up and use the security features on your devices and always use two-factor authentication. Some of those security devices are on iPhones. You have hide my IP address. You can do that. And you have a don't load images. So actually on the iPhone, it says load remote images. You want to make sure that's off because that means when you get an email, it's not going to load all the images in that email. It's going to give you a little thing up on the top that says display images, and then you choose whether you want to display them.
There were, Mike, there were a number of people who asked about this and how to do it at the seminar, and we're gonna give some more instructions on how you go about depending on your email. What's the big deal of images? When you have emails come through with images, the pictures, graphics, what happens essentially is the people on the other end can immediately see where you're from and that you opened the email. And that's information that you don't really want to provide. So what's available now are emails that come through, I kind of call them stripped. They'll come through and they don't have that graphic or they don't have that image on it. You have a little radio button at the top of the email generally that says something like download remote images. If you want to download them, you can click on that. We're going to put on the technology forum a section on how you set up preventing these remote images from downloading automatically.
Yeah, and the last point here is be careful on social media. And we kind of put that one by itself because you have to do the passwords the same way. You want to make sure they're secure. And you want to use the privacy settings that social media offers. Facebook has 1 million private settings. Of course, they change them every 6 months, so it's hard to follow. Instagram, X, everywhere is going to have those. So you want to make sure you look at them, put them up there, and then always do a search before you accept a new friend on your social media. Whoops, I went by one here. Yeah, that's it.
We have? Oh,
Yeah, there you
okay. Next slide up here is we're going to talk just quickly about there's fraud that takes place online, fraud that takes place through phone calls, and then there's fraud that takes place in public places that we encounter all the time, but we don't necessarily think about it. So let's talk about a couple of these things. Public Wi-Fi. Most of us, are when we travel, we see these public Wi-Fi sites at airports. BWI, a free Wi-Fi, or Starbucks Wi-Fi. What's happening now is, and by the way, you really should never use public Wi-Fi. Most people, I'm sure just about everybody has data, cellular data, and the signals are generally fairly strong enough to be able to download emails and go online. Most people are not trying to download or upload 25 megabyte files where they would need, a really fast Wi-Fi speed. So you really should just use your own cellular data. And why? Well, what scammers are doing now is they're able to create their own networks. And so you go to, again, a BWI, and before you see in the list of Wi-Fi networks, before you see maybe a BWI free Wi-Fi, you see something that says public free Wi-Fi. Okay, you say, oh, well, that must be the Wi-Fi I want to connect to. No, this is probably a site that a scammer has created. They've created their own network. And unlike hiding your information through VPNs, if you click in to their network, they've got access to your entire device. Okay, so advice. Just use cellular data. Don't ever use public Wi-Fi. Next is be vigilant in cash machines. Okay, well, many scammers today will place tiny cameras up in the corner of a machine. So that's something to be careful about, but you don't know that it's up there. And those cameras are positioned so that they can see the entry of numbers into the system. Advice, if you're going to use an ATM, use your bank's ATM or a bank's ATM. If one of the things you never want to do is you pull up to that gas station that has 4 pumps that are broken, one that's working, and the place looks like it's about to close business, but they have a perfectly good cash machine, don't use it. Be careful at gas pumps. Mike and I were talking about this. There was an article recently that there was a proliferation of what is known as the use of skimmers right here in Millsboro. Skimmers are small little slot devices that a scammer will place into the credit card slot on a credit card reader slot on an outdoor pump. They work off of Bluetooth. They connect to a remote a receiver. And what happens is when you put your card in, that skimmer reads the card, okay? Reads the information on the card. This is something to really be careful about. What I generally do is that little overhang, rubber overhang, where you put your card in, I'll try to shake that because when you do that, you're able to, if there's a skimmer in there, you're going to hear a little rattle. I know that's unscientific, but otherwise you wouldn't have an idea that a skimmer was in there because you really can't see them.
And it works.
Yeah.
You
You can. Now, the alternative is you can always go in and pay inside, but that's inconvenient. I would say 99.9% of people getting gas use the outdoor pumps. You just need to be vigilant and pay some attention. This last one,
My favorite.
yeah, juice jacking. You've never heard of juice jacking. I'd venture to say almost all of you haven't. What's juice jacking? You go into those public airports and you see people fighting over where to plug their phones, their devices into because the power is low. Don't ever plug a device into one of these public chargers at all, because the third-party companies that put these in airports, they don't check them. And what's happened is hackers have been able to get inside of these machines, and as soon as you plug in, okay, they can get access to your device. The best thing to do, never use those. Just buy a couple of these small portable chargers. They're great. They're not expensive. And carry a couple of those with you so that if you ever run out of power or your power's low, you can plug into those. Again, anybody listening to this, tell your relatives, tell your friends, don't ever plug into a public charger.
And then the fraud tips. Be skeptical. Barry said that a lot. That's exactly what you should do when you are on the phone, for sure.
Yeah, never assume that what you're being told is true, or you just, in this day and age, again, skepticism is the absolute key word. If you get an email from your mother or father, trust and verify. You just can't. You really. I hate to say this because it really comes out sounding, like. We're a Debbie Downer here, but you can't trust. It's almost to the point where you don't know what's real and what's false. You really don't. So we've talked about AI, Mike, and how they can clone voices. So how do you know if you get one of those calls that sounds like your son, your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter, or your good friend asking for money or telling you they have an emergency? How can you fight that? Well, we call it what? Scamming the scammer.
Yeah.
Okay. Use a family code word. I know Mike's family has one. Pick a code word, and when you get that call from that relative, from that friend, you kind of simply say, "Hey, what's the word?" What else you can do?
Yeah, you should do that. I mean, I do that, and we have one of my daughter-in-laws keeps forgetting the word, but
Huh.
Our son doesn't, so we're okay with that family. But you can then scam the scammer by saying, hey, wait a minute, you can turn it around to him and say, hey, I hope your dog Hugo's okay, when you know they don't have a Hugo. And if they answer, oh yeah, Hugo's okay, you know it's definitely fake. So there are some ways that you can do that on there. And then the last point we put down here,
Yeah.
you can automatically silence calls from unknown numbers on both the iPhone and the Android.
This is something that you want to consider, that actually shouldn't consider it. You should do it. You can never be scammed, right, Mike? If you don't get a call, if you don't talk to anybody, you can't, you're never going to be subject to phone fraud or, a fraudulent scheme if you never talk to the person. So what both of these devices, the iPhones, the Androids, what they allow you to do, and I think we have a slide that just shows that shows an iPhone. What they allow you to do is silence essentially unknown numbers. So if a number calls you that isn't in your contact list, the number will go. You won't hear the ring. You might hear a haptic, which is that little vibration that lets you know a call came, but you won't hear a ring. What happens? The call immediately goes to your voicemail. Now, I would say the vast majority of scammers, if they don't get you and they get voicemail, they're hanging up because they can't scam you through a voicemail. They can't get you to call them even if they leave you what sounds like a dire message. They want to talk to you live. So if you don't get the call, you can't be scammed. Now, a lot of people will say, well, but I don't want to miss the call. It could be from my doctor, could be, a friend who I don't have in my contact list. Yeah, that's true. But what happens with these programs now are that when the calls go to voicemail, they're transcribed. I think we have a slide, don't we, Mike?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, let's look at this for a minute. So take a look at this. The slide on the left, slide on the left is what happens when a call comes through and it's taken by your call block. If someone leaves you a message, it's transcribed. You don't have to listen to the message. You can read the first few lines and you'll know whether it's someone you want to take the call from or it's a scam. You see the next two slides here are showing you what happens. When I get that call, I can come down and I can hit block and report that it's junk. That takes the number completely, out of your system and blocks it from ever ringing again. This is something you really should look at and consider. Yeah, could you miss a call here and there? Yes. But for the most part, I've been doing this for quite some time and I haven't missed calls. Every now and then, a doctor calls an office about an appointment, but I see it almost immediately and I can call back.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about recovering from fraud. What we did here is say you'll know if you've been hacked. Some telltale signs are you're unable to log into your accounts, changes to your security settings, messages sent from your account that you don't recognize. Your friends call you and say, hey, I got this crazy message from you. Those are all signs that you've been hacked. Attempted logins from unusual locations. You get a thing saying, hey, we got a login from here. Is that you? Unauthorized payments from your online account. So those are definite things that you have definitely been hacked. And then what do you do if you've been hacked? You get two slides on this. They're very similar. If you open a phishing link, here are the steps to take. Once you've opened it by mistake, you say, oh my God, this is wrong. It's bad if you click on it, but don't enter any more information. Get out of it. And immediately, the second one there, disconnect from the internet. Now, disconnect from the internet is if you're at your desktop and you're plugged in to your internet, just unplug it. If you're on a laptop or an iPhone or whatever, you can just go to airplane mode. That'll shut down the internet because if you've connected with the scammer on the internet, they may be running something on your computer that you don't know about. If you disconnect from the internet, they can't do it anymore. Then immediately go into your antivirus, go to your malware, and start checking it. I usually run it twice to say, does it have it, and get away from it. Back up your data. If you can do that, it may already be backed up. You're probably already backing it up. Change passwords right away if you've been hacked. Lock your credit. All three credit services, which are the big three, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they all have links for you can lock your credit. It can be a pain if you're going for a loan or a mortgage. They'll stop you to make sure it's you, but it'll prevent hackers from opening up lines of credit in your name. Use the multi-factor authentication, which we've talked about. You definitely want to do that. If your Social Security is involved or compromised, and that happened to me 3 years ago, one of our people in HR thinking they were sending it to me, sent our HR W-2 file to a hacker.
Okay.
So now the hacker has everybody in the company's W-2. That's a nightmare because on the W-2 you've got everything. And the biggest problem with that, if you talk to the IRS, is the people look at how much taxes you put in, and they create a fake tax return to get all that money back to them.
That person's still working for you?
Well, yeah, she was afterwards. But yeah, she sent out, there were 700 people in the company. She sent out 300. And what we told them is go to the IRS. They have a form you fill out that a tax return cannot be filed in your name unless you give them the code that the IRS gives you, which is great, except this year, like every year, I have the attorneys filling out the tax return. He calls me up and says, you didn't give me the code. I can't file it without the code. So I have to go on to the IRS, they give me this year's code, I give it to them, you're fine. I mean, that's a serious one, but there are ways you can do it. Same thing with a bank. If a bank is involved and you can get there the same day, you can stop anything. That's key. So if you think you've been hacked and there's money involved, go right to the bank. And then also banks are now really helping. Barry has some great stories on that, but they'll have like a 48-hour period requiring the owner personal validation. So somebody can't come in and get it without you having that 48 hours. So, but this is an issue with the banks. They're seeing a lot of this. The next one, same thing. You disconnect from the internet on your PC or laptop. Run your antivirus. On PCs, you can do a system restore.
Yeah.
That'll get you back. Like Dell has a program for this. It's happening so much, but you can reset your Dell all the way. I mean, this is going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours, but it really brings everything back to where you want it to be. So that's good.
Going along with this, Mike, between Mike and I, we've helped a number of people in situations like this. We're not computer technicians, but I guess you could say we know enough to be dangerous to ourselves and others, but no. We've been able to help a number of people. If you have an issue, you think you've been hacked here, go on the form. Okay. We monitor the forum all the time. Get in touch with us through the forum. We'll help you through this as much as we can.
Yep.
And give you advice. If we can't, we're going to give you advice on what to do and where to go.
Yep. And the next thing, the same thing on a phone or tablet, you can do a factory reset. And that will help you. The resets will wipe everything from the device. If you have regular backups, you don't have to worry about it. And a lot of people don't keep stuff on there anyway. So those are always good options. And then again, your passwords, you want to make sure they're okay. And now the last two slides are my favorite here, the financial loss, the good news and the bad news. And Barry will take you through the good news and the bad news.
If you've lost money, what do you do? Well, there's some scenarios that, as I say, the good news is if you've lost money and you've used a debit card or a bank transfer, or a credit card or a payment service, you can recover those funds essentially if you act quickly, let's say within the first 12 to 24 hours, the quicker, the better, but you at least have a chance. Again, what I was saying before, I'll talk a little about it again. What these scammers are trying to do is create a scenario where you've been compromised, your accounts have been compromised, and they're there to protect you. They're going to make it, they're going to ease your burden. They're going to create safe, secure accounts for you while your accounts are locked. You're going to pull money out to live on or what you need, and they're going to put it in that safe, secure account that they monitor. And so they want you to withdraw money. Essentially, they generally send you to the bank, to your bank to withdraw. I can tell you, I use WSFS Bank in the local branch here, and I've had conversations with the bankers there and their manager. They see between 3 to 5 people a week, 3 to 5 people a week that come in asking to withdraw fairly large sums of money. Now, the bank has to give you the money, okay? But responsible banks or bank branches like this one here, they know that people they're aware of scams and fraudulent situations, so they'll try to talk to the person to find out, why do you need that money? Are you sure you need it? But these scammers, they're pretty sophisticated too. As I've been saying, a lot of them will stay on the phone with you. They'll talk you. They'll say, "Listen, we'll talk you right through it," and you don't want to tell anybody at your bank because you don't know who's listening. You don't know. We can't trust anybody, basically, is the scenario that they paint. So if they get you to pay through any of these methods, you have a chance of getting your money back. Now, the bad news, most of the time, they don't get you to pay through those methods. They get you to make a withdrawal from the bank. Well, withdraw from the bank, Mike, and what happens? The money's gone. Okay, it's gone. You do a wire transfer, it's gone. That wire transfer, for the most part, you have little chance of recovery. I don't even need to talk about Bitcoin transactions because that's a disappearing situation. They don't use gift cards too much, but if you did purchase gift cards, obviously, you wouldn't be able to recover that. But skipping the gift cards and the Bitcoin, the two big ones are the withdrawal from the bank and the wire transfers. Those are the ones that are most dangerous because once it happens there, the money is gone and there's not much you can do about it. So you think you're too smart to be scammed? Well, we've got a few links for you to click on when you download the deck from the hub. I think it's on the hub.
It's on
right?
the hub. This
Yeah.
will be on the hub, yeah.
One of the first one I'd like you to click on is a story by Charlotte Cowles. And I want you to listen or read it. You can listen to it, but you can also read her story that she published. She, a Columbia, graduate. She writes a financial advice column for, I believe, the New York Times, and she starts her story out with, here's my background. You would not think I was the kind of person who would put $50,000 into a box and hand it to someone in a white Mercedes-Benz waiting at my curb, but I did. It's an almost incredible story. You shake your head, you scratch your head, you say, nah, that couldn't happen to me. You need to read the complexity of the story that she tells.
Of the scam.
Yeah, it started from her getting a call from Amazon that she had some accounts that she said she didn't. They convinced her, well, looks like maybe your identity's been stolen. We're working with the Department of Commerce on this because we've had a lot of people that this has happened to. They transfer her to somebody from the Department of Commerce. It ends up transferring to somebody from the FBI or the CIA. I know it sounds fantastical, but it happened to her.
Yeah, it's a good read. It's a good read.
Yeah, and you need to read because this is what, what's happening. The next link, as you can see, there's a phishing test. Go ahead, take this test, see how well you do, see how well we did actually in giving you advice on how to spot, fraudulent texts and emails. And then we have a resource of other materials that you can click on that go into a lot more detail.
Yep. Here's where you go.
Yep. If you're not a member of the technology forum, this is the time to do so. We help people in this community. We have over 500 people that are members of, have joined our forum, and we have helped many, many people with their technology questions and issues. With that, I think that we are pretty much done. Any last comments, Mike?
No, that's it. We just hope everyone enjoyed this. Use the resources, including the forum, when you do that, because that's a key. The forum is absolutely a key to get what we want. So
And
that's perfect.
I'll end with a quote from an old police television show. Be safe out there, people. Be safe.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.